Roll call, Mike Knoll,
Yes.
Diane Schultz,
Yes.
Anthony Campbell,
Yes.
Barbara Thomas, Trevor Warner,
Here.
Mary Wiles,
Here.
you have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody like to do notification? We'll need a motion to adopt the agenda unless anybody has anything extra. You do.
You made a motion, I'll second it. Who made it?
You want it?
I asked for one, but I'll make a
Oh,
motion.
okay.
Yep, I'll make a motion to accept.
Diane Schultz,
Yes.
Anthony Campbell,
Yes.
Mike Knoll,
Yes.
Trevor Warner,
Yes.
Mary Wiles,
Yes.
motion carried 5-0.
You guys need some time with your minutes.
Say that loud. Can that be put in like that?
Number 2,
Under closed session?
the second one.
Yeah. Or does it have to be?
I didn't think we could put,
I didn't know that names.
I mean, it's public information, so at this point, I don't think there should be.
Should we consult with Jeff? Okay. So
We'll change it to any litigation.
Okay. What are we changing?
I'll show you. Back page. Second on back page.
Yeah, the second paragraph.
got it.
The only other thing I would think is, and it's not, it needs to be kept private or anything, but when we talked about trash can deposits, I don't know if that would confuse somebody if they saw this and not have the context of what it was talking about. Because we're not talking about the current things with that, it was just a future possibility.
We were talking about something else and it kind of led into that.
Right.
We shouldn't have to.
Like I said, I don't think it matters that it's in there, it's just if somebody did see it,
Yeah,
the context, they
it's
would
coming.
yeah, they would not know what's going on at all with that.
I believe that's already worded in there, but,
Which paragraph are you talking about?
third from the bottom, where it talks about the trash cans.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Because we talked about that, but they, there's no real description of why we were talking about that or anything, which, that's where I don't know, I know they say summary in closed session.
How do we currently do that now, with trash cans?
Just charging $5 for it. I mean, for the second one. The first one is pretty much.
But, so when somebody comes in here and they close their account, do they bring their trash can back that day, or?
I think it's that most people don't pick it up. I think that's what we've done before.
We might have to fix that, that may have to be an issue we have
And
to.
because mine, the neighbors moved out and it just sat there, and stayed there.
Yeah,
So the other neighbor moved in and
I'm sure because we know
Then
it's
it
not
runs, so they
our
do that.
property, but if this thing took it. Do that, let me see.
Are we gonna be allowed?
yeah.
Yeah, we probably, maybe I'll check the OCI, see exactly what the, with that. How do you guys want to change the wording?
I don't, like I said, that was my only concern. I'm not sure a solution for it. I guess I noticed it as a
I
problem.
think it's something we have to address, so I'm all right with just leaving it.
That's fine.
As long as,
I think we might want to prepare for questions or something like that.
I think we need to prepare for a solution.
Well, we have the contract on them.
We shouldn't even use this closed session stuff. We shouldn't even use.
That's a trash can, so.
It's in closed session.
Oh. Thank you. Sorry, Diane. Anything else? Need a motion to approve minutes?
I'll second.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
Sorry,
with the correction.
I don't want to do them both, so.
Well, I'll second.
Diane's.
I'm going to
Mayor
read.
first did, Diane seconded?
Yeah.
Okay. Diane Schultz,
Yes.
Anthony Campbell,
Yes.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Trevor Warren,
Yes.
Mary West.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
On to new business. We were gonna have Kenny give us an update on maintenance. Kenny unfortunately is under the weather today. Gary's supposed to be here to give us an update. If it's fine with you guys, we can skip that and come back to it. We'll move on to the high school fire lane. Just to bring that back up to date, they're wanting a section closed off just to be designated for the fire lane. Me and Jeff have been talking back and forth about it. Basically, go ahead.
We do have an ordinance that prohibits parking in front of the entrance to the fire station. It's the standard language of the state statute, but it has to be properly have signposted on it. So I mean, I think my understanding from our discussions is Dixon Rural Fire is willing to pay to put in signs and paint the ground, no parking, fire lane. And I think once we get the signs up, it's clearly enforceable not to park there.
Yeah. So I'll give it to Dennis, or maybe both of us, if he has any questions about it. It should be straightforward. Tell them to mark out the area they want. I'll give them the maximum amount. I believe the maximum you can do is only up to 20 feet, right?
It's within 20 feet of the driveway entrance to the fire station, and then I'm not quite sure how to put this on the ground, but it says, and on the side of the street opposite the entrance to any fire station within 75 feet of said entrance.
Well, that's so the truck can get in and out. I've seen that happen.
So I just can't, 75 feet feels really far to me, but I guess I just can't see it on the
Well,
ground.
see, you have the helicopter pad there as well. And that's, I mean, Dennis had brought that up as well.
So I just don't know what he's talking about going. I do know that that entire place is blocked in every
Every
basketball
time.
game.
They block the driveway and they can't get out, they can't get in, and then,
So, yeah, go ahead.
Also, too, they have the high school kids, when they drive their vehicles, if they don't have enough room, what they do is they park in front of the fire department where there's lanes on it. And it's not, they park too close to the entranceway, which makes it hard if the truck has to get out, because then the truck has to swing real wide to get out, and a lot of times it's a lot of maneuvering. So I think that's what the 75 feet is, because I think it has something to do with the helicopter pad, because I remember Dennis saying something about that.
I think we just need to get up there and see where you want to put it.
I'll give it to Dennis this week, before the end of the week. I'll tell him exactly what he needs to do. I'll show him the ordinance. Once it's marked, we'll be able to then enforce it. They have to put the proper signage up. Once that signage is up, it's marked properly. The fine will be $15.50 plus $23.50 for court cost. So, just so everybody's very clear.
$15.50.
$15.50 for the ticket,
Okay.
$23.30 for court cost.
I'm not quite sure on the court cost, but that's the improper parking when they sent down. They standardized all the fines across municipal courts for the whole state for sometime last year. So that's just
yeah. Saves the church $100 or something like that.
See, when they have their worst occurrences is when they have special events at the high school and the parents drive up and then the parents block all the, the entrance and everything, and that's bad.
every basketball game.
Yeah. Any event's gonna be,
I think it's a legit concern. It's something obviously we need to get taken care of. I think it would be very streamlined from this point forward. I don't know what to address again. Once it's all marked off, I'll take a picture, I'll post it to our Facebook, I'll actually post a fine. and the courthouse and everything, so it's very clear and open to everybody in the public. We can do, yeah, I'll talk to Dwayne too. That property is actually, that road is still, I'm reading it, it's our property, so, but I will give them a heads up too on that. Gary, do you want us to go back to you, or do you want a minute?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. We're ready for you if you are. We'll move on to the marshal update.
Not sure all you want, but
Just give us a brief update here.
understand our software was down a little bit today, so this was a pull together. For the month of June, we had 249 calls for service. 68 of those required reports. We had 42 traffic stops. 12 of those resulted in citations, 25 warnings, 2 investigated, 2 that went up to state for charges. We had 3 assaults, 2 property damage, 6 accidents, 3 harassments, 2 leaving without pays, 3 warrant arrests, 6 agency assists, 1 nuisance violation, 1 burglary, 2 stealings, 1 animal report.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask you a question?
Yes, are you done?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the fireworks ordinance that we have? Do we have one? Okay. Can you tell me what the distance is for firecrackers between properties to be,
We don't have a distance.
you don't?
No.
I think you need to put one in.
I don't write ordinances.
Hmm?
I don't write
Okay,
ordinances.
well, I think
We would be the ones-
We need to put that on the agenda to be taken care of.
We can definitely talk about that.
I don't understand what you're actually
I'll
doing.
talk to you after. Okay.
Let's keep this orderly, okay?
I just wanted to know if we had a fire ordinance and it had a distance. That's all.
We do have a fireworks ordinance, but as far as a distance, I have yet to see that. Maybe another city, a larger city, more condensed would have one. I am not aware of it, but we can potentially work on that, but that's something us as a council would have to put together. We're the ones that compose all the ordinance.
I'll take two evangelism and explain it all.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate you. Any more questions? Move on to the clerk and collector appointment. I would just like to nominate our current clerk and collector, Glenn Nathan and Lou Mincer. It's just a formality. It's due for our ordinance every year, or I'll make reviews. We're a little off, obviously, with the COVID-19. So I can make a motion, or we can make a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Glenn Pennington for city clerk and Lou Menzer for collector.
I'll second that.
Diane Schultz,
Yes.
Anthony Campbell,
Yes.
Mike Noel,
Yes.
Trevor Warner,
Yes.
Mary Wise. Yes. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, guys. On to the trash contract, WCA. I think at this point, it's a 90-day expire. You know, you have 90 to 120 days to expire. I mean, I know we've talked about back and forth. This is something maybe we need to have a workshop or set up a workshop if we're going to get down and dirty with the talks about if we potentially want to go back to us running our own trash service. I think there's pros and cons to both. I've talked to some of you guys individually on both to see if we've had some interest in it. At this point, we have no, we're out of time. So with WCA, it'll just automatically, we'll just let it automatically renew. But, and then,
We have to vote on that. And was it July last year we read, or was it later?
I don't think we have to vote on that at all.
Oh, yeah.
I read
It changed last year is why we had to.
yeah, we have to vote on if it changes. Right now, it's automatic renewal. If we're not within that 90 day, we have to go before 90 days, that's September 30th. Like,
Is the rate the same?
you're just the same.
So that's why we.
So we're going to decide on a workshop with this? I think that would be great.
Yes, I think,
Of course, we're not stretched for time now.
yeah, we're not stressed for time, but I'll set a reminder. I'd say less than 3 months. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, guys, so I don't want us to get spread too thin.
We still have the UV project that needs probably one of our number one priorities. We have a lot going on still. That, the UV probably needs to be the thing we set down and figure out exactly what we're going to do. That probably needs to be our main focus. In between there, if you guys feel up to it, I'm all about having as many workshops as we need to for the WCA, but I think at this point, I'm gonna call and get an exact deadline on when it is due. I don't know if they've extended it now because of the corona outbreak or what our, I've never seen a piece of paper or anything state our exact deadline. It has to be done by this time. I get to see that, so I'm gonna call and hear exactly from them, so. Any questions on that? Okay. So as far as the trash contract, we'll stay with WCA. But in the near future, we need to definitely make that a priority. We're talking about, I think we need to sit down, break it down by the numbers, how many employees, see if it's cost effective for us too. So.
Can I interject something on the trash contract?
Yes.
The reason why we chose to do the trash contract was because the trucks that we have are not dependable at all. And we had people that worked on the truck that would not get out and do like WCA does. You couldn't take one person to do the trash, but they had to have two people on the back and it was a half-a-day thing. So you tied up 3 maintenance workers, okay? And the trucks were always breaking down, which if you look at past bills, those were pretty expensive investments. A lot of times they had to be hauled off to like maybe someplace like Springfield or Lebanon in order to be repaired. So the equipment was the reason why we opted, because we just didn't have the money at the time because of the dire straits that we were in. And also the fact that, you know, it just was not cost effective at all.
No. Well, and I don't want to steer too far off here, and I agree with you to an extent. I think that's why we need a workshop. We need to do, I have an average of how much tonnage it takes for our city. You know, I think they're here twice. I think it typically takes anywhere from 15, 17 tons per truck. So I need to call over to the waste and see exactly how much it costs per ton. We can do the payroll up that way. And I don't know if there's any extra insurance that we have to take out.
Yeah,
I'm sure there
we'll
is.
have to have insurance.
We have to sit down and we have to make an educated decision. Is it, hey, is it worth
And
this?
also we have an outstanding bill with the city Robert Trash too.
Yeah, we do.
We need to take that into
So,
consideration.
there's a lot of what ifs here, but at the same time, that's why we need a workshop, so I'm all for having workshops whenever.
I'm on board.
Okay, I will say I'd like to do it after the UV project, we get that figured out, guys.
In our budget, compared to our budget.
Yes, we have a couple big ones, yeah, this is the budget, so.
I didn't hear what you said.
But the budget,
Budget, so.
yes, it's coming up to, remember October. Any questions on the trash? Okay, let's move on. We have a business license here, we have multiple ones, I believe it's
No, just one.
just for Shine Solar, they're doing solar panels on a house. I'll need a motion to approve it. I have no issue with it. Let's see, but you
I'll see
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Who's the owner of the business?
I do not know, it's a fairly large company, I know. Yeah, I
No,
believe
just one, isn't it? Just one license.
Yeah, it's one license, but she was asking about the company I believe is out of Springfield, Lou.
Yes,
Like
that
ours
is all
is.
in there. Yeah.
So, Rogers, Arkansas.
Or
So
maybe
it
the
could be,
main.
yeah, it could be the main one. So, we've got a motion, we'll need a second. Okay.
Diane Schultz,
Yes.
Anthony Campbell,
Yes.
Mike Knoll,
Yes.
Trevor Warren,
Yes.
Mary Wiles,
Yes.
motion carried 5-0.
The next business would be the law enforcement tax. I put a phone call because basically we've got a couple of questions. When is this going to take effect? And
Some questions on the funding. Exactly what accounts and not exactly how we're going to process this for the marshal. I put a phone call into Ernst on 7/2, I think around, it looks 1:30. I have yet to get a phone call back. I'll touch base with him again tomorrow. I asked his assistant, she said a good question, she has no idea on it, so it's something he would have to get back with us on.
Is it a sales tax or, I'm sorry, I can't remember if it's a sales or a property tax.
Sales tax.
It's a sales tax. You might have to call that department revenue.
Yeah, his assistant acted like he should know. He was at the office that day. I did leave a message and a voicemail. I even gave my cell phone. So like I said, I'll touch back with him tomorrow if you have an answer for us. Next business, is anybody any questions on that? You got questions? Okay. Next business would be a building inspector. So my outlook on the building inspector is just this. For these nuisance houses that what I would consider clearly need torn down, there's a couple of different, avenues for it. It says we have the power. I say we, the mayor or the board has the power to say one of our employees can be the building inspector and condemn these houses. I don't feel we have anybody qualified enough to do that. So what I would propose is we would put this out for bid. I don't think we can afford a full-time building inspector, but we could do it per occupancy.
On-call basis?
Yeah, per occupancy, when we need them. I would like to put it out there that you could come with a flat fee for each residency. I think we make it very clear, then it's an outside source, it's not us, it's somebody else saying, hey, but some of these, I think we counted, I think there's roughly 30. There's probably 25 for sure houses that I would consider, but again, I'm no expert at this, that something needs to be done with them. You got no windows, trees growing through them, if the doors are wide open and burnt, there's various ones, but at the same time.
There's some that are just literally falling in.
It's at the point, and we all want our city to clean up. This is another big stepping stone for us. But at the same token, it's gonna take us as a board working together, the marshal working together with us, the attorney working together. This is gonna have to be a very group team effort. We're gonna have to work very diligently because we don't want to step on any toes. We don't want to do anything wrong. So this has to be done very professionally. I think the building inspector, again, that's just the proper way to do it. Let's hire somebody that's a professional in this manner. So it's not one of our maintenance workers that has no idea of building structure, it's never done that before doing it. Let's have an outside source, so that's what they do on a day-to-day basis. I would like I said, I would like to be per occupancy, and I'd like it to bid it that way. I guess I can word it that way in the paper if we approve it, so. Do we have any questions?
Would we have to change our ordinance to allow us to do that, or does it?
I believe the way the ordinance reads, Trevor, is we have the power to. The ordinance there states that it has to be that way, so.
Well, if we hire one, don't we have to generate an ordinance to? Do we have
I
to
don't know why we have to generate it, just says building inspector.
create an ordinance for, because it's a position that's being.
It'd be a city
We
official.
have one to fire,
Yeah.
a very brief building fire code.
Yeah, I know, that's what he was talking about.
No, it wouldn't have to be that, because-
Like we have a city and planner ordinance as well, too.
Yeah, but we have one already there for the building
Okay,
inspector.
alright.
He would just be an employee of ours, so we're basically hiring somebody on call. That's how I like to word it.
So
But
then
again,
you just
I'm
have-
gonna get with Jeff on that one. I'm gonna get with Linda, when she's back, and get together, and again, we'll bounce her.
I think, just make sure that they understand it's like an independent contractor
Yes.
situation. You're not an employee of the city, you only do this is just what you want to do.
But that should be the stepping, that should clear one more hurdle for us, is we want to clean up our town. It should be, the lawns are no big deal. Anybody can see a lawn that's 2 foot tall, hey, this is a nuisance. The houses have always been something that's held us up, and I think this is maybe, and I hope that it'll streamline it, so. And then once we have these resumes out, put in the paper this next go around, once we have the resumes, we'll sit down, we'll have another meeting, talk about it and discuss, maybe even have them come up and discuss their ideas, just so we're all on page with, 100% with it.
What you're saying is the building inspector will be responsible for safe or inadequate housing structure plus lawns?
No, the lawn, I think is something still clear that we can do. All we want to do is,
I think he can help with it, because we do have lawns that, listen, we got houses in this town that include who owns.
yeah, I think we have the avenues, I think we have the avenues of the area to figure that out. I don't think that's beyond our reach. But as far as having a building inspector check lawns, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if any of us would. I think it's something we can clearly say, hey, in our ordinance book, I'd have to look it up to tell you the exact ordinance on there, but it even tells you like how many inches and so forth, and if it's in more than one season. Yeah, I believe it says 10 inches, and it says, once we find them and went through the process of the nuisance once, if they do it again, there's no process we can keep. At that point, we can cut it, charge them accordingly, so.
Yeah, that was set up, was that the one that was set up with Terry Mitchell? She was the one that set us up for the lawn, but for the house demos, we can't do that through her for.
Yeah, and the Terry Mitchell thing, I checked on that too.
She don't want to do it either.
No,
Not
Terry,
on lawns.
yeah, I have to look at that, Gary, I don't know.
I know one of them, we can levy the.
Yeah, but we're getting,
fees against
let's
the taxes.
reel back in, we're getting off subject here, guys. We're talking about the building inspector right now, so, if it's fine with you guys, we have no further questions on it, I'll need a motion for us to put that in the paper.
How many days are you gonna?
30.
30 days?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to run an ad for a building inspector, we'll run it for 30 days. In the Dixon pilot, we're gonna do it in the focus too?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
I think we'll go fast.
I'll second that.
Diane Schultz,
Yeah.
Anthony Campbell,
Yes.
Mike Knoll,
Yes.
Trevor Warren,
Yes.
Mary Wise,
Yes.
motion carried 5-0.
There's no further questions on that, we'll need a motion to go into closed session. At that time, though, I ask that we give a 10-minute recess, let us clear the room.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second it.
Recess.
With the re.
Oh,
10-minute recess. 10-minute recess before we go. We'll let them- But I'll make a motion to go, a 10-minute recess, let them clear the room, then we'll have to make
All right,
another
I'll
motion to go into
second.
closed session.
I'll second it, Bill.
Sorry, guys.
Okay,
It's
so
a
10
little
minutes.
funky now with the corona and everything, I have to give you guys time to get out of here, so.
Do you anticipate any motions following closed session?
Do what, sir?
Do you anticipate any motions following closed session?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so 10-minute recess first.
Yes.
Okay, Diane Schultz,
Yes.
Anthony Campbell,
Yes.
Mike Knoll,
Yes.
Trevor Warren,
Yes.
Mary Wise,
Yes.
motion carried 5-0 for recess.